All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be giving you guys my first look, build, and kind of thoughts here for the Christmas Day slate, the 3-game slate on DraftKings. Let's go in and get into it. So guys, I'm going to do a game-by-game breakdown. I think it's easier to break it down that way. And let's start out here with the opening game, which is going to be Dallas versus Washington. So really the biggest piece of news that we were waiting on is going to be whether or not Marcus Mariota is going to end up being active in this game. If he is, he's really not a terrible play. And actually, I think the quarterbacks that we're going to be on for this slate are going to come from this game. Like if Marcus Mariota's out, like honestly, Josh Johnson probably becomes the second best play value, like pricing wise considered at 4.4, just given the matchup with Dallas, because they've just been such an easy funnel matchup for us for DFS. You're just, oh, Dallas is on the slate, let's play the quarterback. Like it's been as simple as that. And I think we could just end up doing that as well, especially with like Terry McLaurin still being, good to go and Deebo Samuel being healthy. Like I think we would just end up looking at that. But really the top quarterback play on the slate is going to be Dak Prescott. Even last week, guys, ended up looking good against that Chargers defense that had been pretty darn good. George Pickens was able to have a pretty good game and again a tough matchup, so that was nice to see. Yes, Dak is the easiest play on the slate. The one concern that I have with him is that Javonte Williams is also looking like a pretty darn good play on this slate as well. The concern that I have is his snaps have come down. He only played in 57% of the snaps last week, whereas Malik Davis ended up playing 34% of the snaps. Davis has like decent here and there, and so I think that workload split is going to continue. In regards to the Washington Commanders running backs, Chris Rodriguez did outsnap Bill again. The snaps are ended up being 52% of the snaps for Rodriguez, Bill 21, and then McNichols about 27. And so if we're playing a Washington Commanders running back, it will be Chris Rodriguez priced at 5.5. And I do think we want to be doing that because it is a decent matchup there going against Dallas. And I think that's where we're going to find some value on this slate. Okay, but he's not a must play. It's just a play I think we can get to. For the receivers, I do think this slate is pretty simple. If you are playing Dak, I think we want to be getting to both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, especially if Flanor is going to be out as well. Okay, he's someone that actually had 2 touchdowns in the game. One was called back, but he ended up getting banged up, and then you like instantly saw Pickens actually become a much better fantasy asset throughout that game after Flournoy had left in that game. Maybe we could look at like Turpin a little bit. Mingo got some snaps as well, but I think we just keep it simple and go with those two. And then for Washington, I do think we probably want to be into McLaurin, Deebo. He's going to be a decent play, or Treylon Burks. I actually think he's going to be a sneaky good value for us, priced at 3.3 in this good matchup. Even if Washington ends up getting blown out, I think Burks is pretty darn appealing. Burks playing 85% of the snaps, had 5 targets in that game. It seemed like he was working his way into more snaps for Washington. And so if that's going to be something that continues, I think he is pretty darn appealing at that, near min price, given the very good matchup. They're going to be running out 11 personnel a bunch. And that's simply because they don't have Zach Ertz anymore. And so I don't want to mess with Sanat or Bates. Jake Ferguson's okay. I'm fine with him. But I think Burks as like a value is pretty appealing. We'll jump into Detroit versus Minnesota, and I actually think here is where we're getting our top tight end play on the slate. Again, price considered. That's going to be Zane Zylstra for the Detroit Lions. So he ended up getting 5 targets in that game, 3 receptions for 20 yards. He ended up playing 66% of the snaps for them, and he should end up being the top tight end for them going forward. And so if we're getting 60+% of the snaps for him at 2.6, I mean, that's just a simple and easy click there, honestly. From there, guys, for the Lions, I don't think we're worried about ASB being injured in this game really at all. It is a tough matchup, and I think we want to get to ASB or Williams because of their talent, and because if one of them's not going off, the other one's probably more likely to go off. The Minnesota defense has been great, but I would rather get to Lamb and Pickens instead. And so that's kind of been my lineup process thus far. Very interesting workload split between Jahmyr Gibbs and also David Montgomery. Montgomery only played 18% of the snaps, and then Gibbs had the rest of the snaps there, 88% of the snaps. So pretty crazy stuff there. 7 rush attempts for 2 yards. That's crazy. He ended up with 22.8 DFS points. I mean, that is insane. 10 catches, 66 yards, and a receiving touchdown. That should have been a good matchup for him last week against the Steelers. This is a more difficult matchup for him, for sure. I could see a path where neither of them end up hitting. I think that's more likely on this slate than it's really been throughout the whole season. And so it's a decent way to get unique. But for cash bills, I think you are just simply going with Gibbs there. And then we jump into the Minnesota Vikings, guys. Some pretty interesting spots here. Aaron Jones would be a very, very interesting play with Jordan Mason likely to sit in this game. Xavier Scott, I don't think we really want to get to. Scott only played 14% of the snaps last week, and we had Aaron Jones play 67% of the snaps. The issue that we have is that it's looking like J.J. McCarthy is going to end up sitting in this game to the point where we're going to get Max Brosmer, who, if you guys don't remember, he started for J.J. McCarthy recently as well and had literally one of the statistically worst games a quarterback has had. And it actually was a terrible game as well. He was just flat out bad. Now last week he came in and didn't nearly look as bad. I mean, it was a matchup against Seattle in his first game. Then last week against the Giants, this is also a pretty darn easy matchup against Detroit. So maybe not all hope is lost for the pass catchers or Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones could still get his checkdowns. And that's really what we'd be hoping for, is for him to get 5 targets in this game from Brosmer. I do like him at his price tag. For me, it has come down to Jones or Chris Rodriguez in a lot of builds. And it could end up being, does Aaron Jones get a lot of work in the receiving game, or does Chris Rodriguez end up scoring a rushing touchdown? That could really be the make or break on this slate. From there, I don't hate getting to Jefferson, Addison, or even Naylor. Naylor's very cheap for someone that's playing 60+% of the snaps in a game where they're likely to be playing from behind. Could get a little bit of garbage time production. Don't really want to mess with TJ Hawkins in there. So let's go ahead and jump on into Denver versus KC. So both defenses are very good, although don't tell Trevor Lawrence that because he dominated the Broncos last week. The Broncos are pretty darn interesting because of the difficult matchup and because it seems like Pat Bryant could end up sitting. We have seen this recently where Pat Bryant had to miss a game. Troy Franklin kind of became the receiver number 2 again. Last week he ended up playing in 64% of the snaps. And so I think he's fine. I think he's a fine play, but he's also priced correctly. He's going to be someone that looks more appealing on showdowns. You also have Cortland Sutton, who ended up with 12 targets, 10 targets. Really, since the bye week, he's done kind of what I thought he would do, which is retake that receiver number 1 role. We're hoping for that to continue in this game because I do think he is the third best receiver play on the slate, CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, and then Sutton, although Sutton is priced much cheaper than he should be given the role that he's been playing, right? If we can get 10 plus targets at $6K, that's insane, especially with Pat Bryant being out. Last time Pat Bryant was out, though, Humphrey was the receiver that actually got the biggest workload increase, and so maybe he's someone we're looking at. And then both the running backs for this game are somewhat in play, but they're also tough to get to because of the tough matchup. RJ Harvey only got 7 carries, but he did play in 59% of the snaps, did get used a lot in the passing game. I could see them choosing to attack the KC defense that way with him. And we did see Pacheco, guys. Pacheco got 73% of the snaps, and he also was heavily involved in the receiving game as well. If you just want to punt to one of these two instead of dealing with Chris Rodriguez, who I do think is a little bit more likely to score a touchdown, or deal with maybe Aaron Jones not having a good quarterback, I mean, you're dealing with that for the Chiefs as well, with them being on their 3rd string quarterback. I don't hate Pacheco. I just don't feel like we need to get to him. And for what's worth, guys, yes, the Chiefs are going to be on their 3rd string quarterback. He can rush the football a decent amount. Maybe we get a rushing touchdown, but we're not expecting much out of him. And then Bo Nix, again, I'd rather pay up for Dak or just go down to Mariota or Josh Johnson. But Bo Nix is someone in play. Tight end wise, I just don't want to mess with it too much. I don't think we need to. So we jump on into the DSTs. I'm okay punting to the Chiefs defense, and we have about 6.1 left over. Could get to McLaurin, could get to Sutton. We'll go with Sutton for this build. You guys kind of get the lineup process that I'm looking at. If you didn't want to go with Burks, I understand. Okay. But I mentioned so many other values that we could potentially play, and that just obviously opens up a lot with what you guys can do lineup process wise. A simple fix would be, all right, we don't want to play Jones. We go to Pacheco, who does draw a difficult matchup, but then we have $700 left over to be able to afford, maybe Mims. I'm okay with that. Maybe Humphrey, but you guys get the point. We are most likely having to punt there, or we could just go with Sutton in that receiver 3 spot, and then we could maybe go with Hawk. I wouldn't hate that process as well.